Good morning. Traveling since the 15th of April. Today is the first day of May, and this is the day which is the reason for this journey. We're headed to St. Hilary's, where we will meet with the church warden this morning. He will open up the family history area there for me to dig around in and see what we can come up with. Even if I weren't here for family genealogy research and things like that, what a stunning little village Penzance is here in the Cornwall region of Great Britain. Anyway, let the day begin. The journey to Penzance and St. Hilary begins with a 5-hour train ride out of Paddington Station in London. It's a very comfortable ride and very scenic, and it's good to get away from the crowds. A little bit of background about this region of the UK. We're in the southwest corner of England. Scotland and Wales are autonomous, defined Celtic areas of England. Cornwall is part of a Celtic presence that almost completely encircled England hundreds of years ago. The Cornish people in this region spoke their own language, which you can still hear being spoken occasionally by the older folks. Cornwall is considered a county in England, unlike Wales and Scotland. Many of the locals consider themselves Cornish first and British second. Penzance and St. Hilary are on the Penwith Peninsula, and that's the focus of a lot of the Gilbert family records. Was a major seaport years and years ago, serving the mining and fishing industries that dominated this area. Today, the primary industry is tourism. Quaint boutique hotels and incredible seafood make it a favorite getaway from that hustle and bustle of London. One of the more iconic points of interest is St. Michael Mount. It has been inhabited for over 1,500 years. It's been a monastery, a fortress, and now it's even a personal residence. You can get out there, but it's dictated by the tides the visits are. You can walk or you can ride a boat depending on where the tide is. Just be ready to do a little climbing once you get there. Let's catch up with where we're at today. There is a qualifier here. This is research, genealogy research. It evolves over time. The story that we know today about the Gilberts is dramatically different from what it was when I was growing up, 50s, 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. We now have access to all kinds of documentation and historical records that help us put together a more complete story about John Bennett Gilbert and all of us cousins. What we do know is that John Bennett Gilbert came to this country in December of 1775. At least that's the date on the manifest, where he was listed as indented. We believe that he was indented to his future father-in-law, Frederick Fitzgerald. Clearly, he eventually married Frederick Fitzgerald's daughter, Hannah, and here we all are as a result. They had 10 children. So the lineage of John Bennett Gilbert in Patrick County, in the surrounding area there, is pretty well documented. We've got some holes, but they can be filled in eventually, I'm sure. But my focus for this trip had been to go back prior to John Bennett Gilbert coming to America on this ship, the Carolina, which ironically docked in Norfolk, which is where we left out of at the beginning of this journey. Multiple genealogy websites show John Bennett Gilbert as one of between 5 and 7 children that George and Catherine Gilbert had. George died in September of 1770 and was buried on September the 28th, 1770, in St. Hilary, in the cemetery there. That's where we found the records of his exact, or the area in the cemetery that was his exact resting place. He was only 39 years old. We don't know how he died. We're not even sure what he did for a living, though at the time, most of the two major industries in Cornwall and in that region there were mining and fishing. Did he die accidentally? Was it a result of disease? We don't know. We need to keep looking. George's wife, Catherine, was actually 2 years older than he was. After he passed away, she left with a family name Travascus, which is an old Cornish name, and people recognized it right away. She outlived that second husband. They had 2 more children together, and she is buried in St. Hilary as a widow. So we know what happened to her eventually. It was in 1815, so she lived a full life for that time. FamilySearch.org records show that in the 13 years that George and Catherine were married, they had a total of 7 children, the last of whom was born, or they were christened, in February 1771, after George had passed away in September of 1770. A couple of those died as infants, and one lived to be only 4 years of age. The rest of these siblings lived out their lives in St. Hilary and in the Cornwall region of England. John Bennet Gilbert, as shown by the records of the Cornwall OPC database, was baptized in St. Hilary's on 4 April 1763. Your first impression when you walk onto the grounds through the graveyard of St. Hilary's is oh no, they've just let it go and it's overgrown and it just looks terrible. The fact of the matter is, it's by design. This is what's known as a closed church cemetery. It is left to grow free and wild for the birds and the insects, mowed 3 times a year. Other than that, it's left alone. The building on the grounds is a building referred to as the Old Schoolroom. This is where the Heritage Center is and where we got a lot of information from. Based on their records, this is the section of the cemetery that is George Gilbert's final resting place. The inside of the chapel at St. Hilary's. Based on their records, this is the chapel in which John Bennet Gilbert was baptized. So what? So one of our cousins, Tari Gilbert, conveniently posted a poem on social media, interestingly enough, right before we left to go on this journey over to St. Hilary's. It's written by the poet Emily Bridget Taylor, and I have to read it word for word. You were carried here by so many hands, the hands of your ancestors, from cup to cup, passing it forward, and however unsteady their hands were, here you are. So live your life like you are, thousands of years in the making. And that's true. Many of you probably don't have an interest in this right now, but somewhere down the road, you might. Somewhere down the road, a son, a daughter, a grandchild is going to ask a question. The info is out there. We're just getting started finding it. We just need to keep on looking. If you're interested, feel free to reach out and I'll connect you with my ancestry, and you can see the information that we have so far. and start to create your own input.